My name is Brett Harrison, and I am 26 years old. When I graduated from MIT with highest honors in computer science, my family was exploring the Louvre in Paris with my younger brother Kyle. They chose his European vacation over my graduation ceremony. That evening I sat alone at a cheap diner picking at my burger while scrolling through their vacation photos. Little did they know the lonely son they had neglected had built a $15 billion tech empire right under their noses. Before I dive into my story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button, and stick around to see how my family reacted when they discovered the empire I built while they were busy with my brother. I grew up in a modest two-story colonial in a middle-class neighborhood on the outskirts of Boston. Our house was nothing special, just another cookie-cutter home with a small yard and a basketball hoop that rarely saw any use. From my earliest memories, I was always fascinated by technology. While other kids played sports or video games, I wanted to understand how those video games worked. My father, Richard, worked as a sales manager for a pharmaceutical company. He was a former high school football star who never quite made it to college level. My mother, Margaret, taught third grade at the local elementary school. They were decent parents in most ways, providing a stable home and putting food on the table. But from the moment my brother Kyle was born 3 years after me, the family dynamic shifted dramatically. Kyle was everything I was not. Athletic, socially confident, and the spitting image of our father. He took to sports naturally, especially football, following in our dad's footsteps. I still remember the look of pure joy on my father's face when 5-year-old Kyle caught his first football. That look never appeared when I showed them my accomplishments. "Look what I built, Dad," I said one day when I was 10, proudly displaying a simple computer program that drew geometric shapes on the screen. "That is nice, Brett," he replied, his eyes already drifting toward the window where Kyle was practicing tackles with neighborhood kids. "But can you wrap it up soon? Kyle has a scrimmage game and we need to leave in 15 minutes. I built my first computer that same year, using parts salvaged from discarded machines I found at the local repair shop. The owner, Mr. Jacobson, took a liking to me and let me rummage through his junk pile. While my parents drove Kyle to football practice 4 days a week, I would bike to the repair shop and learn everything I could about hardware and software. By 13, I was coding simple websites for local businesses. My first paid job was creating a site for Mrs. Reynolds, who ran a flower shop downtown. She paid me $50, which felt like a fortune. I reinvested that money into more computer parts. "Brett is always on that computer," my father would complain at dinner. "It is not healthy. Look at Kyle. Always outside, getting exercise, being social." What they failed to see was that I was building something. I was learning, growing, developing skills that would one day change my life. I was not just playing games or wasting time online. I was teaching myself programming languages, understanding network architecture, and laying the groundwork for my future. High school was more of the same. Friday nights in our household revolved around Kyle's football games. The entire family would attend, my parents beaming with pride as Kyle scored touchdowns and led his team to victories. I attended exactly 3 of his games during those 4 years. The rest of the time I was in my room coding, building, creating. "You should support your brother," my mother would say, guilt in her voice. "He does not come to my coding competitions," I would respond. "That is different," she would insist, though she could never articulate how. Despite the lack of support, I excelled academically. I was valedictorian of my class, president of the computer club, and winner of multiple state and national coding competitions. My college applications were stellar, and I was accepted to MIT with a full academic scholarship. The day my acceptance letter arrived, I rushed to show my parents. "Mom, Dad, I got in. Full scholarship to MIT," I announced, bursting into the living room where they were watching television. "That is great, honey," my mother said with a quick smile before turning back to her show. My father nodded. "Good job. Save us some money." 2 weeks later, when Kyle got accepted to State University with a partial football scholarship, my parents threw a party. They invited family, friends, neighbors. There was a cake, with "Congratulations, Kyle" written in his school colors. No one mentioned my MIT scholarship. That night I made a promise to myself. I would succeed beyond their wildest imaginations. I would build something so impressive, so undeniable, that they would have to acknowledge my worth. Not that I needed their validation anymore, but there was still that wounded little boy inside me who wanted his parents to see him, truly see him. As high school graduation approached, my parents were preoccupied with Kyle's football training camp that summer. They barely noticed when I packed up my belongings to head to MIT early for a summer research position. My father helped me load my few boxes into my used Honda Civic, patted me awkwardly on the shoulder and said, "Good luck at college, son." I drove away from that house with mixed emotions. Relief to be leaving the constant comparison behind, excitement for the future that awaited me, and a lingering sadness that my own family could not see the potential within me. But that sadness was slowly transforming into determination. I would show them and the world exactly what Brett Harrison was capable of. I arrived at MIT on a sweltering August day, my beat-up Honda Civic packed with everything I owned, which honestly was not much. The campus sprawled before me, intimidating and exhilarating all at once. As I lugged my boxes up to my assigned dorm room, I felt a strange mix of loneliness and hope. This was my fresh start away from the shadow of my football star brother. "Need some help with that?" a voice called out as I struggled with a particularly heavy box of computer equipment. That was how I met Ethan Rodriguez, my assigned roommate, and the person who would become my best friend and business partner. Ethan was a scholarship kid from Chicago with an incredible mind for systems architecture. Where I excelled at creative coding solutions, he had an uncanny ability to design robust, scalable infrastructure. We clicked immediately, staying up until 4 in the morning that first night discussing our ideas for the future of cloud computing. "Most people are thinking too small," I told him, sketching out my vision on a whiteboard we had mounted that very evening. "The real opportunity is in decentralized data storage with intelligent retrieval algorithms." Ethan nodded enthusiastically. "And what if we built an adaptive layer that optimizes based on usage patterns? No one is doing that effectively yet." By the end of our first semester, we had created a prototype of what would eventually become CloudCore, the backbone of my tech empire. It started as a simple app to help students share and collaborate on large research files more efficiently. We launched it campus-wide during finals week of our freshman year, and within days over 70% of MIT students were using it. "We should scale this," Ethan said one night as we watched the user numbers climb. "This could be big beyond campus." During sophomore year, we officially formed Harrison Technologies, working out of our dorm room between classes. I was the CEO and lead developer, while Ethan served as CTO. We expanded CloudCore to other universities, refining the platform based on user feedback. Our big break came when Professor Alderman from the computer science department used CloudCore for a research project and was impressed by its performance. He introduced us to a venture capitalist friend who saw the potential immediately. "Your architecture is years ahead of current solutions," the investor said after a detailed review of our code. "How much seed funding are you looking for?" We secured $1 million in initial funding, but I made a strategic decision that would prove crucial to our future success. I insisted on remaining anonymous as the company founder. Official documentation listed a holding company as the majority owner, with my identity protected through complex legal structures. "Why all the secrecy?" Ethan asked as we signed the paperwork. "I want our technology to speak for itself," I explained. But the truth was more personal. I wanted to succeed completely on my own before my family found out. I wanted the reveal to be on my terms when the success was so massive it could not be diminished or overlooked. Throughout junior year, CloudCore expanded exponentially. We moved our operation to a small office near campus, hired 5 employees, and secured major contracts with research institutions across the country. By the end of that year, our company valuation hit $100 million. Through it all, I lived frugally. I stayed in the same dormitory, wore the same clothes, and drove the same old Honda. Every dollar of my share went back into the company or into savings. My parents remained oblivious to my success, still focused on Kyle's football career at State University, where he was gaining recognition as a promising tight end. Our occasional phone calls followed a predictable pattern. "How are your classes, Brett?" my mother would ask. "Fine, Mom. I am maintaining a 4.0 GPA," I would respond. "That is nice, dear. Did you hear Kyle scored 2 touchdowns last weekend?" During senior year, everything accelerated. Cloud Core evolved into a comprehensive enterprise solution that major tech companies could not ignore. Google offered to buy us out for $2 billion. We declined. Microsoft came in at $3 billion. We declined again. We knew what we had built was worth more, much more. By March of my senior year, Harrison Technologies had expanded to 3 international offices with over 200 employees. Our valuation hit $15 billion after a series of major government and Fortune 500 contracts. Yet I remained in the shadows, known within the industry only as the architect. The Forbes profile of our company listed me simply as a young MIT graduate whose identity was kept private. As graduation approached, I allowed myself to hope that my family might finally see me clearly. I had achieved extraordinary success by any measure. Surely they would be proud to attend my graduation from one of the most prestigious technical universities in the world, where I had maintained perfect grades while building a multi-billion-dollar company. I was about to discover how wrong I was. 2 weeks before graduation, I called home during a rare break between meetings. Our company was preparing for a public announcement about our latest platform, and the stress was immense. Still, I felt excited about finally sharing my success with my family at graduation. I had even arranged for a special announcement to be made during the ceremony, coordinated with the university administration, who were thrilled to highlight such a successful alumnus. The phone rang several times before my father picked up. "Hello," he answered, the sound of a basketball game playing loudly in the background. "Hi, Dad, it is Brett." "Oh, Brett. Hold on, Kyle just made an amazing play in this game. Let me watch the replay." I waited patiently, listening to my father cheer for my brother through the television. After nearly a minute, he returned to the phone. "Sorry about that. What is up, son?" "I was just calling to confirm you guys are coming to my graduation in 2 weeks, May 15th at 10 a.m. Remember, I can book your hotel if you have not done that yet." There was a pause, and I could hear my father clearing his throat. "About that, Brett. Something has come up." My stomach dropped instantly. I knew that tone. "What do you mean something came up?" "Well, Kyle has been invited to participate in this elite football training camp in Switzerland. It is a huge opportunity for him, could lead to NFL scouting attention. The dates overlap with your graduation, and we decided to make a family vacation out of it. We are taking your brother to Europe." I gripped my phone tighter, trying to keep my voice steady. "So you are not coming to my MIT graduation at all?" "You are smart, Brett. You have always been independent. Celebrate on your own, and we will have dinner when we get back," or something my father said dismissively. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Kyle. In the background, I could hear my mother. "Is that Brett? Tell him we are sorry about missing graduation, but this is really important for Kyle's future." Then I heard my brother's voice, smug as ever. "Tell the computer nerd I will bring him a souvenir. We will be thinking of you on your big day." My father continued, completely oblivious to how devastating this news was. "You understand, right? Family has to stick together, and Kyle needs our support right now." The irony of his words was not lost on me. Family sticking together, except when it came to me. "Right," I managed to say, my voice hollow. "Family first. That is my boy. Listen, I need to go. Kyle wants to discuss which cities we should visit while we are in Europe. I am thinking Paris, Rome, maybe Barcelona. Talk soon. Okay." After he hung up, I sat in my office, staring at the wall, my carefully constructed emotional walls crumbling around me. For years I had told myself that their opinion did not matter, that I had moved beyond needing their approval. Yet their casual dismissal of one of the most important days of my life cut deeper than I wanted to admit. Ethan found me like that an hour later, still sitting motionless at my desk. "Board meeting in 10 minutes, he reminded me, then paused when he saw my face. "What happened?" I told him about the conversation, my voice flat and emotionless. "Your family is unbelievable," Ethan said, shaking his head in disbelief. "After everything you have accomplished, they still cannot see your worth." "They do not even know what I have accomplished," I reminded him. That was going to be the surprise at graduation. Ethan leaned against my desk. "So what are you going to do?" I straightened up, a new resolve hardening within me. "Move up the timeline. The company was planning to go public next month anyway. Let us coordinate with the university to make the announcement at graduation instead. Are you sure? That is a lot of attention all at once. I am sure, I said firmly. If my family cannot bother to attend my graduation, they can read about it in the Wall Street Journal while they are sightseeing in Europe. The next 2 weeks were a blur of preparations. Our legal team worked overtime to coordinate with the Securities and Exchange Commission for our initial public offering announcement. The university was thrilled to incorporate such a momentous revelation into the graduation ceremony. The dean himself would make the announcement before the diplomas were handed out. All the while, my parents continued their excited preparations for their European vacation. My mother called once, leaving a voicemail that sounded more obligatory than sincere. Brett, honey, we are so proud of you graduating. Take lots of pictures for us, okay? Oh, and if you want to send your diploma home, I can get it framed for you. Love you. No mention of their absence or apology for missing this milestone. Just a request for pictures, as if I were attending a casual social event, rather than completing a chapter of my life that had seen me build a $15 billion company while maintaining perfect grades at one of the most challenging universities in the world. The night before graduation, I sat alone in my apartment looking through old family photos on my laptop. Pictures of Kyle's football games dominated the family albums my mother had digitized and shared. There I was in the background of so many shots, always with a book or laptop, always separate from the family celebration centered around my brother. I closed the laptop and looked out at the Boston skyline. Tomorrow everything would change. Tomorrow the world would know who I was and what I had built. Tomorrow my family would finally be forced to see me. The thought brought less satisfaction than I had imagined. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. on graduation day, too anxious to sleep any longer. Sunlight was just beginning to peek through my apartment windows as I made coffee and laid out my graduation attire. Under my bed was the sleek black gown and the distinctive MIT hood lined with cardinal red and silver gray. I ran my fingers over the material, thinking about the journey that had led to this moment. My phone buzzed with a notification. My mother had posted on social media. First day in Paris, Kyle loving the European training experience. Attached was a photo of my family at the Eiffel Tower, all smiles, not a thought about what day it was for me. I got dressed, methodically adjusting my tie in the mirror. At 26, I was older than most of my graduating class, having taken 2 gap years to focus on building the company while still completing my degree. My reflection showed a man who looked confident and successful, though only a handful of people knew just how successful. The graduation ceremony was scheduled for 10 a.m. at Killian Court, the grand open space framed by MIT's majestic dome. I arrived early, walking through campus, one last time, memories flooding back with each familiar building and pathway. There he is, Ethan called out, jogging to catch up with me. He was dressed in an expensive suit rather than graduation regalia. Having completed his degree the previous semester, he was attending as my guest, ready for the big reveal. As ready as I will ever be, I replied, glancing at the rows of empty chairs where soon my fellow graduates and their families would sit. 4 of those chairs should have held my family. Your parents have no idea what is about to hit them, Ethan said, adjusting his tie. The tech blogs are already buzzing about a major announcement from Harrison Technologies today. Speculation is running wild. As graduates and families began to arrive, the empty chairs around my assigned seat became increasingly conspicuous. Other students greeted their proud parents, took photos, shared embraces. I stood alone, shaking hands with professors who stopped by to congratulate me. Mr. Harrison, congratulations on your remarkable achievements, said Professor Michaels, my advanced algorithms instructor, both academic and otherwise. He gave me a knowing wink. As department chair, he was one of the few faculty members aware of my connection to Harrison Technologies. At precisely 10 a.m., the ceremony began. The procession of faculty in their colorful academic regalia, the traditional speeches from university officials, the distinguished alumni address, all washed over me in a blur. I was acutely aware of the empty seats in the section reserved for my family. Finally, the dean approached the podium, adjusting his glasses as he prepared to speak. This was the moment we had carefully orchestrated. Before we begin presenting degrees to our graduates, the dean announced, his voice echoing across Killian Court. We have a special announcement that exemplifies the innovative spirit of MIT. The crowd quieted, curious about this departure from the traditional ceremony. Today, Harrison Technologies, one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the world valued at $15 billion, is announcing its initial public offering. Murmurs spread through the audience. The company was well known in tech circles for its groundbreaking cloud architecture. What may come as a surprise to many, the dean continued, is that Harrison Technologies was founded and built by one of today's graduates while he was a student here at MIT. The murmurs grew louder. I took a deep breath. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to introduce Brett Harrison, graduating today with highest honors in computer science, the founder and CEO of Harrison Technologies, and at 26, our youngest tech billionaire. The crowd erupted in applause and gasps of surprise. All around me, fellow students turned in their seats trying to get a look at me. Flashbulbs popped as photographers who had been briefed in advance captured the moment. I stood acknowledging the ovation with a modest wave. The applause continued building into a standing ovation from students and faculty alike. As I walked to the podium to give a brief acceptance speech, I could not help but think of my family probably touring the Louvre at that very moment, completely unaware that their son and brother was now making headline news across the tech world. Thank you for this recognition. I began looking out at the sea of faces. When I came to MIT 6 years ago, I had a dream of building technology that would change how the world stores and processes information. Thanks to the education I received here, the mentorship of dedicated professors, and the collaboration with brilliant fellow students, that dream has become reality. I spoke for exactly 3 minutes, thanking my professors, acknowledging Ethan and our early team, and expressing gratitude to MIT for creating an environment where innovation could thrive. I did not mention my family once. As I returned to my seat amidst continued applause, my phone began vibrating constantly in my pocket. News alerts, text messages, emails, all reacting to the announcement. I ignored them all. This moment was mine, and I wanted to experience it fully without distraction. The rest of the ceremony proceeded according to tradition. When my name was called to receive my diploma, another round of applause erupted. I shook hands with the university president, accepted my diploma, and moved the tassel on my cap from right to left, officially becoming an MIT graduate. After the ceremony, journalists swarmed around me shouting questions about the company, the IPO, and my journey. Security personnel from Harrison Technologies, who had been stationed discreetly throughout the event, moved in to create a protective barrier. Mr. Harrison will not be taking questions today, our press officer announced. A formal press conference will be scheduled next week. I caught Ethan's eye through the crowd, and he gave me a thumbs up. We had planned my exit strategy carefully. While the media was distracted by the press officer, I slipped away through a side entrance where a car was waiting. "Where to, sir?" the driver asked. I could have gone anywhere, celebrated at any exclusive restaurant in Boston. Instead, I gave the address of a small diner near campus, the same place I had eaten countless meals alone during my time at MIT. Sitting in a booth at the back of the diner, I ordered a cheeseburger and fries. The waitress did not recognize me, treating me like any other customer. It was refreshing after the frenzy of the ceremony. As I ate my solitary graduation dinner, I scrolled through the flood of notifications on my phone. News articles were already appearing online with headlines like "MIT grad revealed as tech billionaire" and "College student built $15 billion empire in secret." Still nothing from my family. They were probably still enjoying their European adventure, oblivious to the fact that their son was now trending on Twitter. I finished my meal, left a generous tip, and stepped back into the world that would never be the same again. The secret was out. Brett Harrison was no longer just a computer nerd overshadowed by his athletic brother. I was now a public figure, a tech billionaire, a success story. And I had done it all without a single word of encouragement from the people who should have believed in me most. The news traveled fast, even across the Atlantic. I was halfway back to my apartment when my phone rang with an international number. My father. I sent it to voicemail. Within minutes, my phone began lighting up with calls and texts from my entire family. My father called 7 times in succession. My mother sent a series of increasingly frantic text messages. Brett, is this true? $15 billion, Brett. Please call us immediately. Your father and I are in shock. Please answer your phone. Even Kyle texted, dude, what the actual hell? You are a billionaire. I silenced my phone and continued to my apartment. The doorman greeted me with new respect, having apparently seen the news. Congratulations, Mr. Harrison, he said with a slight bow. Thank you, George, I replied, heading for the elevator. Upstairs, I was surprised to find my apartment filled with flowers and champagne baskets. My assistant had arranged for deliveries from well-wishers throughout the tech industry, CEOs of major companies, venture capitalists who had turned me down years earlier, university officials, all sending congratulations now that my identity was public. I ignored the champagne and poured myself a simple glass of water, sitting at my window, overlooking the Boston skyline as the sun began to set on graduation day. The solitude felt appropriate somehow, a reminder of the journey I had taken largely alone. When my phone rang again, I checked the caller ID. Ethan. He was one call I would take. You broke the internet, he said when I answered. Every tech blog, business channel, and news outlet is running your story. The stock is already up 25% on the announcement. How are things at the office? I asked. Absolute madness. Press camping outside, employees celebrating, board members calling nonstop. Everyone wants to talk to the mysterious Brett Harrison. He paused. Have you heard from your family yet? They are blowing up my phone, I admitted. I'm not ready to talk to them. Take your time, Ethan advised. This is your moment. Handle it on your terms. For 3 days, I maintained my distance from my family, focusing instead on managing the public revelation of my identity. I conducted interviews with select media outlets, met with key investors, and finalized details for our official IPO launch the following week. My parents continued their desperate attempts to reach me. From their social media, which suddenly became much more subdued, I learned they had cut their European vacation short and were flying back to the States. They posted no more smiling tourist photos, no more updates about Kyle's football camp. Their digital presence became all about trying to connect with their suddenly famous son. Heading home early to celebrate our son Brett's amazing success, my mother posted a transparent attempt to save face publicly. I moved out of my apartment into a new penthouse that I had purchased months earlier but had not yet occupied. The timing was perfect, giving me a sanctuary away from the increasing media attention and preventing my family from finding me when they inevitably showed up in Boston. They did exactly that the day after they returned from Europe. Through the building's security system, which I accessed remotely, I watched my parents and Kyle arrive at my old apartment building, demanding to see me. The doorman, who had been generously compensated for his discretion, informed them I no longer lived there and could not provide my new address. The security footage showed my father's face reddening with frustration, my mother dabbing at her eyes with a tissue, and Kyle kicking the ground in apparent anger. They had come expecting to walk into my life and share in the success they had ignored until it became too big to dismiss. Instead, they found themselves shut out, just as they had shut me out of their family celebrations for years. Social media provided another window into their reaction. My father, normally inactive online, suddenly began sharing articles about me and my company, adding comments like, "So proud of my brilliant son, and always knew he would change the world." The revisionist history was almost laughable. My mother went further, posting throwback photos of me as a child, carefully selected images, where she or my father appeared to be encouraging my interest in computers. Always supporting our tech genius, she captioned one particularly misleading photo where she was actually telling me to put away my laptop and come watch Kyle's football game. Kyle's reaction was more complicated. His social media oscillated between attempting to associate himself with my success, my brother the billionaire genius, and posting moody selfies, captioned with vague inspirational quotes about finding your own path. Meanwhile, Harrison Technologies stock continued to soar. The IPO was an unprecedented success, with share prices climbing 80% in the first week of trading. My personal net worth, already substantial, nearly doubled. Business magazines clamored for interviews, tech conferences, offered speaking slots. Universities, including my parents' beloved State University that had rejected my application years ago, suddenly wanted to give me honorary degrees. Through it all, I maintained my focus on the company, working closely with Ethan and our executive team to ensure the transition to a public company went smoothly. The work was a welcome distraction from the family drama playing out in the background. After a week of ignoring their calls and messages, I finally responded to my mother with a brief text. "I am well, very busy with the company. Will contact you when I have time." Her reply was instantaneous. "We are so proud of you, Brett. Your father and I always believed in you. When can we see you? We want to celebrate your amazing accomplishments." The selective memory and transparent attempt to rewrite our family history only strengthened my resolve to maintain boundaries. These were the same people who had chosen a European vacation over attending my graduation. No amount of sudden interest could erase that betrayal. Yet, despite my determination to keep them at a distance, I knew a confrontation was inevitable. After years of living in the shadow of my brother, of having my achievements dismissed and my passion ridiculed, I had finally done something they could not ignore. The conversation that would follow would either begin a new chapter in our relationship or close the book entirely. I decided it would happen on my terms in a setting of my choosing. After 10 days of their persistent messages, I texted my father I can meet for dinner this Friday, 7 p.m., Bertoli's on Newbury Street. Just the four of us. My father's reply revealed his desperation to reconnect. "We will be there. Cannot wait to see you, son. So much to talk about." Indeed, there was. After years of silence and dismissal, my family suddenly had plenty to say to the billionaire they had once ignored. Friday evening arrived, and I deliberately showed up 15 minutes late to Bertoli's, one of Boston's most exclusive restaurants. I had chosen it carefully, a place where reservations were nearly impossible to get unless you were someone of significance. My family would have been waiting, perhaps worried I would not show up at all. I drove there in my new Ferrari, one of the few indulgences I had allowed myself since my wealth became public. The valet's eyes widened as I handed him the keys, another reminder of how drastically my public persona had changed in just a few weeks. Through the restaurant's front window, I could see my family already seated at a prime table. My father was checking his watch nervously. My mother was reapplying her lipstick, something she did when anxious. Kyle was slouched in his chair, scrolling through his phone. Taking a deep breath, I entered the restaurant. The maitre d' recognized me immediately. "Mr. Harrison, welcome back," he said, with a deferential nod. "Your family has arrived. Shall I show you to your table?" Heads turned as I walked through the dining room. The secret of my identity was fully out now, my face having appeared in business magazines and news programs across the country. Whispers followed me as the maitre d' led me to the table. My mother spotted me first, her eyes widening. She stood up so quickly she nearly knocked over her water glass. "Brett," she exclaimed, arms outstretched for a hug. I gave her a brief, formal embrace, then shook hands with my father and Kyle. No warm hugs, no emotional reunion. I took my seat and thanked the maitre d' as he handed me the wine list. "You look great, son," my father said, his voice unnaturally enthusiastic. "Success suits you." "You must be exhausted with all the media attention," my mother added, reaching across the table as if to touch my hand. I subtly shifted it away, pretending to adjust my napkin. Kyle tried for casual. "Pretty wild few weeks, huh, bro?" I ordered a bottle of wine for the table, a $5,000 Bordeaux that the sommelier presented with reverent care. As he poured, an uncomfortable silence fell over our table. "So my father finally said, after taking a sip of wine, he clearly did not appreciate $15 billion. I always knew you were smart, but this is something else." "Did you?" I asked, my voice level. "Always know." My father laughed nervously. "Of course. Remember how I bought you your first computer? I saw the potential in you right from the start. You bought me a used Dell because Kyle needed a new football helmet. I corrected him, and then complained about how much time I spent on it." My mother jumped in. "We always supported your interests, Brett. We were so proud when you got into MIT. So proud you threw a party for Kyle when he got into state but did not even take me out to dinner for MIT, I replied, still keeping my voice calm and controlled. "That was different," my father protested. Kyle needed the encouragement. You were always so self-sufficient. Self-sufficient, I repeated. Interesting way to describe being ignored. Kyle shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Come on, man. No need to bring up ancient history. I turned to him. Ancient history like 2 weeks ago when you were touring Europe during my graduation. My mother's face flushed. We feel terrible about missing your graduation, Brett. If we had known about the company announcement. And there it was. The truth laid bare in one incomplete sentence. If you had known I was a billionaire, you would have come. I finished for her. But since you thought I was just getting a degree from MIT with highest honors, it was not worth interrupting your vacation. That is not fair, my father protested, his voice rising slightly before he caught himself glancing around at the other diners. Kyle's football camp was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And my MIT graduation was not, I asked. Do you know how many students dream of graduating from MIT? Do you know how hard I worked maintaining perfect grades while building a company that is now worth more than the GDP of some small countries? My parents exchanged uncomfortable glances. Kyle stared at his plate. We made a mistake, my mother admitted. We should have been there. We are so sorry, Brett. Are you sorry you missed it, or sorry you missed seeing me announced as a tech billionaire, I asked. The silence that followed was answer enough. I sat alone at a diner. After graduation, I continued my voice steady despite the emotion behind my words. I scrolled through your vacation photos while eating a burger by myself on what should have been one of the proudest days of my life. Do you have any idea how that felt? My father attempted to recover. Son, we have always been proud of you. And now with this incredible company you have built, we could not be prouder. In fact, I have been thinking I might be able to help you with some aspects of the business. My sales experience could be valuable to your team. I could not help but laugh. My company employs former executives from Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. What exactly do you think you could contribute, Dad? His face reddened. I have 30 years of sales experience, and I am your father. Being my father did not seem to matter much when I was growing up, I replied. Why should it matter to my business now? My mother tried a different approach. Brett, honey, we would love for you to come stay with us for a while. Get away from all this pressure. I could make your favorite meals just like when you were little. Mom, when was the last time you made my favorite meal? Do you even know what my favorite meal is? She hesitated, then guessed. Spaghetti and meatballs. That is Kyle's favorite. Mine is grilled salmon with roasted vegetables. Kyle, who had been quiet, suddenly spoke up. This is bullshit. You hit the jackpot and now you are punishing us for not treating you like some kind of golden child growing up. Some of us had to work for attention, you know. Not all of us could be super geniuses. I turned to him. Work for attention. Every conversation in our house revolved around you and football. Every family event was scheduled around your games. Every vacation was planned around your tournaments. What exactly did you have to work for? Kyle's facade cracked. Do you know what it is like now? All anyone asks about is my billionaire brother. Tell us about Brett. Was he always so smart? Did you know he was building an empire? It is like I do not even exist anymore. There was a painful irony in his words that he clearly did not recognize. Welcome to my entire childhood, I said quietly. My father, desperate to salvage the situation, tried again. Son, we made mistakes. All parents do. But we are family. This success of yours, it should bring us closer, not drive us apart. Let us be part of your life again. I looked at each of them in turn, these people who shared my DNA, but had rarely shared my dreams or interests. My father now eager to claim connection to my success after years of dismissing my passion. My mother trying to rewrite history to cast herself as supportive. My brother resentful that the spotlight had finally shifted away from him. I need to be very clear about something, I said, leaning forward slightly. I did not build Harrison Technologies to impress you or to win your approval. I built it because I believed in the technology and my ability to create something meaningful. For years, I told myself I did not need your validation or support. Recent events have proven that to be true. I took a sip of wine before continuing. That said, I am willing to have a relationship with you all going forward, but it needs to be based on honesty and respect. I am not the same person who left for MIT 6 years ago desperate for your attention. I do not need you to run my company, Dad. I do not need to move back home, Mom. And Kyle, I do not need to live in your shadow anymore. The waiter approached to take our order, providing a momentary reprieve from the tension. After he left, my father attempted a more conciliatory tone. We understand, Brett. We just want to be part of your life again, whatever that looks like on your terms. I nodded. It starts with acknowledging the past honestly, not pretending you always supported me. It means respecting my boundaries and the life I have built. And it means no more posts on social media pretending we have always been a perfectly supportive family. My mother looked embarrassed. I just wanted people to know how proud we are of you. If you are proud now, you should have been proud when I was accepted to MIT. When I won coding competitions, when I graduated with highest honors, I replied. Pride that only appears when there is success and public recognition is not real pride, Mom. The rest of the dinner proceeded with strained small talk. My parents asked careful questions about the company, which I answered vaguely. Kyle remained mostly silent, occasionally checking his phone. As the meal concluded, I paid the bill, declining my father's half-hearted offer to cover it. We walked outside together where the valet had kept my Ferrari at the front. That is quite a car, my father commented clearly, trying to end the evening on a lighter note. It is, I agreed. I bought it the day after graduation. The implication hung in the air between us. While they had been touring Europe with Kyle, I had been purchasing a $300,000 sports car with cash. Will we see you again soon? My mother asked as the valet brought around their modest sedan. I will be in touch, I said, not committing to anything specific. I have a very busy schedule with the IPO and media obligations. We exchanged awkward goodbyes. No warm hugs, no tearful reconciliation, just a family trying to navigate a new reality where the dynamics had been completely upended. As I drove away watching them shrink in my rearview mirror, I felt a strange sense of peace. The confrontation I had both dreaded and anticipated for years was over. I had said my piece without losing control, without letting old wounds dictate my future. The conversation had not gone as they had hoped, I was sure. They had expected forgiveness, maybe even gratitude. Instead, they had received honesty and boundaries. Whether our relationship could be rebuilt on that foundation remained to be seen, but for the first time, I was not the one desperately seeking their approval. I was Brett Harrison, MIT graduate, and tech billionaire. And finally, I was free from the shadow of being the forgotten son. 6 months after graduation, my life had settled into a new rhythm. Harrison Technologies continued its meteoric rise, with our stock price tripling since the IPO. We had expanded to offices in 7 countries and employed over 1,000 people. Business magazines regularly featured me on their covers, and tech conferences treated me like a rock star. But the achievement I was most proud of had nothing to do with stock prices or magazine covers. 3 months after graduation, I had established the Harrison Foundation for Technology Education with an initial endowment of $100 million. The foundation provided scholarships for underprivileged students interested in computer science and technology, focusing particularly on those who, like me, might not have supportive families to encourage their passion. These young minds need someone to believe in them, I explained at the foundation launch. Someone to say your interest in technology is valuable, your skills matter, your future is bright. In many ways, I was giving these students what I had never received myself: recognition, encouragement, support. The foundation quickly became the most fulfilling part of my professional life. Ethan remained my closest friend and trusted business partner. We had weathered the transition to public company status together, navigating shareholder expectations and media scrutiny as a team. Remember when we were coding in our dorm room at 3 a.m.? He asked one evening as we sat in my penthouse looking out over the Boston skyline. Did you ever imagine this? Parts of it, I admitted. The technology, the company growth, not the public attention. Or the family drama, he added carefully. My relationship with my family had evolved into something I could manage on my own terms. My mother and I exchanged text messages weekly, mostly surface-level updates about our lives. She had learned to respect my boundaries, no longer posting about me on social media or trying to insert herself into my business affairs. "Brett, I made your favorite salmon for dinner tonight," she texted once, alongside a photo of the meal. "Thinking of you." It was a small gesture but meaningful. She was trying in her way to acknowledge my individuality. My father's journey had been more complicated. His initial attempts to capitalize on my success had given way to a more humble approach after our confrontation at the restaurant. He had eventually sent me an email that showed the first real introspection I had ever seen from him. "I realize now that I spent years looking for myself in my sons," he wrote. "I saw my failed athletic dreams in Kyle, and that was comfortable for me. I did not understand your world of technology, and instead of trying to learn, I retreated to what was familiar. That was my failure, not yours. I missed seeing the extraordinary person you were becoming. We were not close and perhaps never would be, but there was a new honesty between us that made occasional family dinners tolerable, even sometimes pleasant. The most surprising evolution had been Kyle's. After the initial shock and resentment over my success, he had faced a genuine identity crisis. His entire life had been built around being the star of the family, the athletic hero everyone admired. When that narrative collapsed, he had been forced to reconsider who he really was beyond the football field. 6 weeks after our confrontation, he had asked to meet me one-on-one. "I have been a jerk," he admitted over coffee at a neutral location. "Not just recently, but for years. I took for granted being the favorite, never considering what that meant for you." His humility had surprised me. The Kyle I knew had never admitted fault or shown such self-awareness. "I am thinking about changing my major," he continued. "Football was always more Dad's dream than mine. I am actually interested in sports medicine, helping athletes recover from injuries, you know." It was the first time I could remember Kyle talking about a genuine intellectual interest. I found myself offering to help with tuition if he wanted to pursue graduate studies in the field, an offer he initially refused but later accepted with sincere gratitude. Beyond my blood relations, I had built a chosen family of friends and colleagues who valued me for who I was, not what I had achieved. Ethan was at the core of this group, but it had expanded to include people I had met through business philanthropy and shared interests. Then there was Sophia, who had entered my life unexpectedly at a charity gala for youth in technology. As the founder of a nonprofit teaching coding to girls in underserved communities, she had approached me not knowing who I was, passionate about getting support for her organization. "You look lost," she had said, finding me hiding in a quiet corner of the event. "Just taking a break from being Brett Harrison," I admitted. "And who would you rather be?" she asked. "Just Brett," I said. "The guy who loves coding and building things that matter." She had smiled. "Nice to meet you, Just Brett. I am Sophia." She had not been impressed by my wealth or status, only interested in my genuine passion for technology education. Our relationship had developed naturally, built on mutual respect and shared values. For the first time, I was with someone who saw me clearly and valued me completely. 1 year after graduation, Ethan and I commemorated the anniversary with dinner at the same diner where I had eaten alone after the ceremony. "Full circle," Ethan commented, as we slid into a booth. "From solitary burger to billionaire remembrance tour." The burger was actually pretty good, I reminded him with a smile. As we ate, I reflected on the journey of the past year. From the pain of family rejection to the triumph of professional success, from the solitude of that post-graduation dinner to the rich relationships I now enjoyed. "You know what I have learned through all this," I said to Ethan. "Success is not about proving your worth to people who could not see it. It is about creating something meaningful and surrounding yourself with people who value you for who you really are." "And making a few $1 billion does not hurt," Ethan joked. I laughed. "The money is nice, but it is not what makes me feel successful. Building technology that matters, helping students through the foundation, having authentic relationships, those are the real measures of success." The journey had been painful at times, but necessary. I had moved from seeking external validation to finding internal worth. From hoping my family would see me to knowing that my value existed whether they recognized it or not. From eating alone after graduation to building a life filled with purpose and genuine connection. The wounded little boy who had desperately wanted his parents' attention had grown into a man who understood that the most important approval was his own, and that was perhaps the most valuable lesson of all, worth more than any company valuation or headline announcement. What about you? Have you ever felt overlooked by the people who should have valued you most? How did you find your own worth beyond their recognition? Leave a comment below sharing your story. Sometimes the people who fail to see your potential are the very ones who push you to prove it to yourself. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need to hear that their value exists regardless of who recognizes it. Thank you for listening to my journey. And remember, true success is not measured by others' approval, but by the life you build that brings you fulfillment and allows you to make a difference.